everyone, welcome back to another episode of Case to Case, and today we will still be talking about property law, specifically about accretion. And to further understand the topic, today we will have the case of spouses Baes versus Court of Appeals. So, let's go! In the case of spouses Felix and Rafaela Baes versus the Court of Appeals, the issue in this case is whether or not the government should compensate the Baeses for their loss due to the deliberate act of the former when it sought to improve the flow of the Tripa de Galina Creek. The rule of law mentioned in this case is Article 461 of the Civil Code, which states that riverbeds which are abandoned through the natural change in the course of the waters ipso facto belong to the owners whose lands are occupied by the new course in proportion to the area lost. However, the owners of the land adjoining the old bed shall have the right to acquire the same by paying the value thereof, which value shall not exceed the value of the area occupied by the new bed. Now, let's look into the facts of the case. Okay, the controversy began in 1962 when the government dug a canal on a private land there to streamline the Tripa de Galina Creek. As we can see, here's the Tripa de Galina Creek, the Estero de Tripa de Galina. Now, this was acquired by Felix Baes, who registered it under his name. And later on, he subdivided the property or the land into three areas, which namely were Lot 2958A, 2958B, and 2958C. Now, in exchange for Lot B, which was totally occupied by the canal, the government gave Baes a lot with exactly the same area through a deed of exchange of real property. The property was then designated as 327A and later registered under Felix Baes' name. Meanwhile, Baes had Lot C and a portion of Lot A designated as Lot 1 Block 4 resurveyed and subdivided. He then submitted a petition for the approval of his resurvey and subdivision plans, claiming that after the said lots were plotted by a competent surveyor, it was found that there were errors in respect of their bearings and distances. And this was later on approved by the Court of Instance of Pasay City. So as a result, the old TCTs covering the said lots were cancelled and new ones were issued. We now have Lot 1A Block 4, Lot 1B Block 4, which represent the increase in area after the resurvey, since it was mentioned that there were errors regarding the sizes of the land. We have Lot 2958C1 and Lot 2958C2, which again was an increase in area after the resurvey. Now, the Republic of the Philippines discovered that Lot 1B, on which the petitioners had erected an apartment building, covered an area which is a filled-up portion of the Tripa de Galina Creek. However, the petitioners were claiming that Lot 1B belongs to them, relying on Article 461 of the Civil Code. Now, let's have an analysis of the arguments presented by each party so that we can further understand their claims. According to petitioner, a portion of the Tripa de Galina Creek was diverted to a man-made canal which occupied Lot B, which belongs to them. So, they became the owners of the old bed. But the respondent rejects this claim and avers that the petitioners had already been fully compensated for it when they agreed to exchange their lot with another lot belonging to the government. The Supreme Court agrees with the Baeses, stating that Lot 1B really belongs to them, explaining that if a riparian owner is entitled to compensation for the damage to or loss of his property due to natural causes, there is all the more reason to compensate him when the change in the course of the river is affected through artificial means. And in this case, the loss to the petitioners of the land covered by the canal was the result of a deliberate act on the part of the government, which is an artificial mean, when it sought to improve the flow of the Tripa de Galina Creek. It was therefore obligated to compensate the Baeses for their losses. However, the Bases were already compensated when the government gave them Lot 3271A in exchange for Lot B through the deed of exchange of real property. This was a fair exchange because the two lots of the same area and value, and the agreement was freely entered into by the parties.
And that's the end of today's episode. I really hope that we learned something today. See you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.